So 2023 was filled with a lot of less than great movies. So this list was a little bit harder to make than most years because at the beginning of the year, I remember over like the summer and all, there was a whole joke of number one would have to be the Super Mario Brothers movie because that was the only okay movie of the year. And then there's other movies that came out. So in the end, we'll see where that one actually lands. But here are my top 8 favorite, because that's as far as I could name of movies I liked from this year.
Number 8, Peter Pan and Wendy.
This movie wasn't great. It wasn't marketed well. But to be honest, when I first watched the trailer, I'm like, this doesn't look terrible. And when I watched the movie, I was surprised that I didn't hate it. It's definitely not great, and that's why it's at the bottom of my list. But out of all the movies I saw this year, it still makes the list because I had an enjoyable time watching it. And it's not great, but for 2023, it was pretty good.
7, the Super Mario Brothers movie.
The Super Mario Brothers movie is good. I saw it, it's kind of childish, and it's not my favorite movie. It's definitely not a movie that I'm going to be like hyping up. But for the most part, it was okay. It made this list mainly because it's better than Peter Pan and Wendy, and it's pretty good. I didn't grow up with playing the Mario Brothers game, so that might be some of it, but it's very much a childish movie, but it made money, and it's not bad. So that's why it's making this list, because I didn't hate it, it's just not great.
Number 6, Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse.
So a lot of people are going to hate me for this one, but the fact of the matter is, and if you watch my review on this, you would know why, I'm not the biggest fan of the Into the Spider-Verse movies. They're okay, but everyone thinks they're so great, and I'm like, I don't see it. It's okay. A lot of people are going to put this on the top of the list and say this movie was incredible. It's okay. I prefer the live-action Spider-Mans. My favorite Spider-Man is the Amazing Spider-Man, so I have bad opinions on Spider-Man. But the fact of the matter is, I don't like the animation with this. I thought that some of the characters would be good. I think this one did a better job than the first one with having side characters that they're not pushing you to say you have to like this side character. They're more of saying, okay, you can or you cannot like this character, and because of that, it makes it so you like the characters more. So overall, I think this movie is a really good movie, and it's filled with little details that makes it amazing. But for the most part, it's still only okay, and that's why it's only number 6 on my list.
Number 5, Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
I liked the first Shazam movie, so the second one was okay. It's definitely not great. I wish it had done better because it's still not bad. And I would love to see more of Shazam in the DCU. And so I wish it had done better. But for the most part, it's not bad, but it's definitely not great. I enjoyed watching it, and that's really all I can say for this. Some of these movies I haven't put out reviews for. I think it's only been Peter Pan and Wendy I put a review for, and Into the Spiderverse. So most of these movies I haven't put out reviews for yet, so you're going to hear more about my opinions in those reviews. But for the most part, Shazam 2 was okay, and it's annoying that we're getting to number 5 on the list, and we're still saying the movies are okay, and not saying, I love this movie so much. With last year, with 2022, all the movies that made my list was like, I love this movie. With these ones, it's really going to be up into the last 2 that I'm actually going to talk about movies I actually loved from this year. Shazam was okay. I liked it. I would definitely watch it again, but for the most part, it was okay.
Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
So, Guardians of the Galaxy, I only just watched this a couple nights ago. A lot of people talk about how great it is. And maybe this is coming from me as a psychopath type person. But everyone talked about how sad the animal stuff was. I don't know what's wrong with me, but it was kind of sad, I guess. But I honestly didn't find it that, like, sad seeing these animals die. They're CGI animals. It wasn't that sad. A lot of people thought this movie was incredible. I think the best part about this movie was probably Adam Warlock. He was really funny in this movie. I enjoyed that. But for the most part, I didn't think this movie was incredible, and it's definitely not what everyone is saying it is. A lot of the videos on this list with, Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse and with this, a lot of people say it's incredible, and I'm like, it was okay. It's not incredible in my mind. So that's my thoughts on my quick thoughts. I'll probably have to put out a review sometime. Maybe it'll have to come when I'm reviewing the other Marvel movies that I'm going to put on my review for this. But the fact of the matter is, it was okay. It was not incredible, but it was okay. It was a great send-off to the characters of the Guardians, and the ending was good.
Number 3, Oppenheimer.
So Oppenheimer, I only just watched this of the day we recorded this. I only watched it yesterday. And so that's my thoughts going into this is I just watched Oppenheimer and it was good. There's definitely parts of this that I'm like, it was not my favorite, but it was good. It was a good movie. Very long movie. I definitely won't say this is a movie that I'm going to sit down all the time and try to watch. But it was a fascinating movie, and I enjoyed it for the most part. The visuals were really cool. I love it how he apparently did not use CGI for most of this stuff. He was... This is, for those who know, I'm a fan of The Dark Knight. I love Christopher Nolan. Inception is on my top list of movies. I love Inception. I've made multiple videos talking about Inception already. And the fact of the matter is, so I really like Christopher Nolan, and this is a really good movie of his, but it's definitely not on my top 10 list of movies. It's just maybe on my top 50, probably. It might land in my top 50, or maybe my top 100. Now we're gonna get into the movies I actually liked from this year. And that's starting with number 2.
Number 2, Haunting in Venice.
A little funny story about my opinions on this movie going into it. So I did not know this movie was going to come out this year, or else I would have put it in my movies I'm most hyped for, because as you guys know, for those who have been watching my channel, I'm a fan of both the first and second of the newer Agatha Christie movies. I like them. I especially liked Murder on the Oriental Express. I had it on my list of my top 10 list of movies I wish I had seen in theaters, because it's visually, both of those movies are visually incredible. This movie is also visually okay, but it's definitely not as visually incredible as those last ones, because it's mostly taking place inside at night, so it's, I don't know, it takes away some of that, but I'm okay with that. Anyways, the point is, I did not know this movie was coming out until it was like August, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, I saw a trailer for this. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I'm going to have to put a reaction for this trailer. So I sat down and was about to record it, and then I had to run. And every single time I tried to sit down to watch the trailer for this, I had to go do something. Finally, I sat down and watched the trailer, recorded myself, and then realized that the recording didn't come out. And so I'm like, shoot, I have to react to this again. And I got pulled away again. And so soon, I heard news that the movie had come out. And I still hadn't reacted to the trailer yet. And I'm like, shoot, well, I'm gonna have to put a review for the movie now. And then I kept not being able to watch the movie over and over and over again. And so a couple nights ago, I finally was like, wait a second, I'm gonna have to put out a video talking about my favorite movies of 2023. And I still haven't watched the movie that one of the movies I'm most hyped for of 2023 yet. So I finally sat down and watched it, and it is good. It's good. To be honest, the worst part about this was Tina Fey's character. I just didn't like her because she was annoying. Every single moment she was on screen, she took away from it. It was super annoying. I wish they had taken her out, but she was kind of important to the story. So in one way, it's kind of fascinating because I hated her character, but it's in the same way that you also hate Umbridge, and Umbridge is important to the story. In some ways, she's important. She's what drags Hercule Poirot into this mystery. She's like, oh, I want this to be solved. You're one of the greatest detectives. Can you help me solve this? But in the same way, it's also like, in one way, it's supposed to be really annoying that she thinks she's better than him in some ways, but she also thinks she needs himself. If I would change anything about this movie, the biggest thing I would change is something with her character. Is the line she says is, I'm the one who put you on the map. I would have loved it if they added a moment where, he's not the type of person to say, no, you didn't, but in the way that they proved that, no, she didn't put him on the map. It kind of left that open to, maybe she did put him on the map. And I don't like that. I think it's kind of stupid. In my headcanon, I believe that she never put him on the map. He was already an up-and-coming detective, and she just believed she put him on the map. And it's just something in her head that she believes. And she actually was not involved in putting him on the map. Because it would take away so much from him as a character to make it so it's because of this writer that he became a famous detective. It would make so much more sense if it was because of his work he became a great detective. And she just thinks she was involved because of her self-centered self. But for the most part, I feel like if they changed that, I would say this movie and that character was like amazing in the same way that
Umbridge is awesome in Harry Potter. You hate the person, but they did a great job being that annoying person that thinks they're greater than everyone, and they're not. So that's my thoughts of A Haunting in Venice. Number 1, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Man, I wish there could be something that was better than number 1, but fact of the matter is, I'm a big fan of The Hunger Games, and this movie is good. This movie has its problems, and the biggest problem with this movie is a lot of people did not want to watch the movie just because it had Rachel Zegler in it. And that's annoying. That's annoying. I'm not going to try to defend Rachel Zegler. No, I'm not going to try to do that. But the fact of the matter is, I hated how so many people refused to watch this movie just because it had someone who didn't really do anything wrong, in a way. She just said some stupid things this last year. And that's the only problem with her. Was not that she did any immoral, did anything illegal or something like that. No, it's literally just because she said that she wasn't a fan of Snow White and stuff like that. And we're not going to get into that right now. But the fact of the matter is that I found that annoying that so many people did not refuse to watch the movie because of that reason. As it goes, this movie is good. The acting is good. I will say it's weird that they give all the people in District 12 Southern accents. I don't know why they do that, but they do it. And it's weird. It's strange. It's odd. But that's one of the biggest nitpicks I have with this movie. Honestly, I feel like with the Hunger Games as it goes, it's better than the Hunger Games in the first 4 movies. In my mind, the setup for the, how the Hunger Games works in this first one felt more, and there's some point of that you see earlier, how the Hunger Games were earlier, but it's also in some way, the Hunger Games itself was seen more like terrifying, more gruesome with the way it works. But I also loved it how they saw, back then, they literally just kept the tributes in a cage in the zoo. They were just there to be looked at like animals. And you see how, in a weird way, Snow is kind of making it so it's more like, oh, but let's treat them like humans. In one way, it's like, at the beginning, it seems like he's just doing it because of the reason that he actually, cares about Lucy Greybear. But in the end, you see how it's more that after the whole incident with this last year, he turns into a different person. And at the end of the movie, he poisons someone. He becomes the terrible person that we all know and love from the Hunger Games. And that's what we see as we end the movie. But we'll also get this idea that now he's taken his ideas he came up with in the first year of, let's make people like these tributes more so that when they die, it's people want to watch us to see who wins. Terrible idea, but also a great idea. That's the whole thing about it. It was you see the horrors of the Hunger Games before they took it and try to make it into the sweet game type thing it is now when we get into Katniss and stuff like that. So I thought that was really interesting. For the most part, I love this movie. So guys, tell me your thoughts. What made your list? Is there any movies that you're like, oh, but you haven't seen this movie? This movie's really good. And I'm like, oh, I'll watch that movie and maybe I'll change my list a little bit. As you see with this list, I haven't put out reviews for these movies yet. Only got to watch them in the last week. A lot of these movies, I was up until the last 2, the movies were okay. If it was any other year, if these came out in 2022, you know which ones would make the list? Probably only the top 2 would probably make my top 10 list. I would probably have to cut some of those stuff from year 22 to make way for those, but those are the only 2 that probably would have made the list. Even then, I don't know, maybe A Haunting in Venice might have not made this list. But I still love that movie. But the fact of the matter is, I wish there was more good movies coming out last year, but there really wasn't. And that's really, really sad because I must have started this channel at the wrong time because last year was filled with a bunch of terrible movies. And hopefully this year, I'll put it on my list of movies I'm most hyped for 2024. And hopefully, on that list, there might be some movies that are actually good. I have high hopes for that stuff like Deadpool 3 might be actually good. But we'll see. So guys, tell me your thoughts on movies you guys liked from 2023. If you guys haven't yet, please subscribe and like this video. It will help the algorithm a lot. It will help us reach more people. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Movie Night Reviewer, Peter Waring, signing off.